Hello, everyone. So there's this article I've been thinking about for a while on AMC.com. Now, I remember, I think it was in 2017, I was arguing with this expanded universe hater named Daz Davis, I think. I was arguing with him on one of Matt Wilkins' videos, and that got ugly. Eventually he didn't respond, but he linked this article to me to try and prove that the EU was never canon. And even after that incident of me arguing with him, he was still going around all these Star Wars videos, posting a link to this article to try and prove that the EU was never canon. And I told people to ignore him, and I literally gave evidence debunking what he was saying. Oh, and of course he never responded to that either because he can't. So anyway, AMC claims that George Lucas thinks the Star Wars expanded universe doesn't exist. Alright, and here's what the article says. George Lucas loves revisionism. In a recent interview with StarWars.com, George Lucas said as far as he's concerned, there was no Star Wars after Return of the Jedi. And this is the George Lucas quote they use. There's a certain story about Anakin Skywalker, and once Anakin Skywalker dies, that's kind of the end of the story. There is no story about Luke Skywalker. I mean, apart from the books. But there are three worlds. There's my world that I made up. There's the licensing world. It's the book and the comics and all that stuff. The games, which is their world. And then there's the fans world, which is also very rich in imagination. They don't always mesh. All I'm in charge of is my world. I can't be in charge of those other people's worlds because I can't keep up with it. And then they say, it's sort of an interesting psychological profile of the man, isn't it? The expanded universe, most of which takes place after episode 6, largely exceeds the quality of the prequels. Oh, of course they have to shit on the prequels. I mean, well, I do agree that the EU is better than all the movies, but really, did they need to shit on the prequels? And he says, and if Star Wars is all about Anakin, then why did he start by focusing on Luke? They also claim most of the EU takes place after Episode 6. Which is not really true, because I think there's a lot more Clone Wars era material than post-Return of the Jedi stuff, especially the comics. And okay, AMC is wrong. They're just... Nowhere in this quote does George Lucas mention the word canon. Nowhere does he say that the EU is not canon. Just because he says that the end of the story is Anakin Skywalker. He's just saying his story. The story he wants to tell. Because George Lucas had no more story to tell. And he literally acknowledges the books. He says, yeah, apart from the books, there is no story. He has no story. Not that, oh, the EU doesn't exist. This is another example of people cherry picking and thinking George Lucas says one thing. But that's not what he's really saying. Oh, what else? When he says there's my world, he's just talking about the stories he created. And then there's the stuff that that Lucasfilm created. And again, I'll give several links to videos and stuff in the description, more proving my point that the EU is canon. So, yeah, what do you guys think of this quote? Let me know, and if you find any other ignorant articles you want me to respond to, just give me a link to them, people, and I will see you around.